James Clerk Maxwell used the already existing laws from Ampere, Faraday and Gauss to describe electricity and magnetism as electromagnetism, one of the four forces in the physical universe. According to Maxwell's equations, electromagnetism is sine waves perpendicular to each other. It is illustrated in this diagram. The electric field is indicated in red and the magnetic field is indicated in blue, perpendicular to the electric field. As the electric field gets bigger, the magnetic field gets bigger. As the electric field reaches zero, the magnetic field reaches zero. The geometry is two fields perpendicular to each other, and at the same time both are perpendicular to the direction of the wave. The theory about the standing wave structure of matter in space explains that the photon is absorbed in the orbit of the electron, speeds down to zero, hits the core of the atom, reverses its flow and speed up again, hitting the orbit of the electron once again and continues its travel by the speed of light. Antimatter is basically matter with reverse charge. An antihydrogen atom is an atom with a negative proton and a positive electron. It is a big mystery that practically all antimatter disappeared in the creation of the universe according to the Big Bang theory. All particles in the universe has antiparticles, but very few compared to particles. Per definition, a photon is its own antiparticle. Electromagnetic radiation is energy. In the crystalline theory, we define positive energy as the energy in the upsurge of the sine wave and negative energy as the downsurge. Electromagnetic radiation thereby consists of positive energy and negative energy, and the average energy of the photon in one wavelength is zero. So, where exactly is this antimatter, and why doesn't the universe annihilate in pure energy? The answer is that everything is electromagnetism. Photons are real and they do not annihilate in pure energy. Every space-time unit, also named the crystalline, has created its own photons, and they consist of positive energy and negative energy as described. The crystalline's creation of photons is an ongoing creation and counter-creation. Remember Einstein's E = mc squared? Matter is just condensed energy. An atom is just a combination and condensation of many photons. When the photons created by one crystalline entangle with photons created by other crystallines, the combination of the involved separate mental parallel universes make up an atom, which in its basis is a resonance of many combined photons and many separate mental parallel universes. At this era in subatomic physics, the only observational tool we have is electromagnetic radiation. From measuring the wavelengths and frequencies of photons, we make up our theories about electrons, positrons, protons, antiprotons, neutrons and antineutrons. The crystalline theory is based on the assumption that particles does not exist. Only vibrations, motion of energy in space, wavelengths and frequencies exist. Everything we observe is when photons resonate with other photons. Our mental universe, the images in our mind, consists of photons as everything else. It's just very few compared to all the photons that exist. Actually, it is 1 divided by close to infinite. The reason, of course, being that we have close to infinite separate mental parallel universes in the form of living entities called space-time units or crystals. As the photon is defined by being its own antiparticle, antimatter is located in all these infinite parallel universes. As matter doesn't exist, antimatter doesn't exist either. Antimatter is as illusional as matter is. What physicists indirectly observe and define as antimatter is just a glimpse of entering these close to infinite separate mental parallel universes. The many parallel universes is often called the spiritual world, a very misdefined and misunderstood phenomenon. Photons consists of positive energy and negative energy. Photons exist and doesn't annihilate. When they condense and make up the illusion of matter and antimatter by resonance, they form the reality we observe when our heads bump into a wall. The only thing that exists is photons, vibrations of positive and negative energies in space and time. The standing wave structure of matter in space has been a theory since Erwin Schrödinger's cat. Schrödinger and Einstein had the idea that point-like particles weren't really particles, but just waves in space. As many knows, the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics won. It says that photons and electrons are both particles and waves. Even today it is the most favored theory amongst quantum theorists. But what if Einstein's and Schrödinger's ideas were correct? The best way to describe the standing wave structure of matter in space is the vortex. You see the water flowing into the vortex, but at the same time waves are flowing away from the center. The hydrogen atom is the simplest structure of matter we know of, and it might behave in a similar way. Imagine this as being a hydrogen atom, the blue line being the orbit of the electron. The hydrogen atom undergoes a transition when a photon is absorbed. In normal physics we say that the electron makes a quantum leap. It goes from one quantum state to another. In normal quantum physics the leap is discontinuous and random. When a photon hits the orbit of the electron, this quantum leap takes place. A photon is an electromagnetic radiation and a wave in itself. When the photon has been absorbed in the hydrogen atom, it continues into the center of the atom, the proton. At the core of the atom, the photon stops and its direction reverses. Now continue your imagination of the photon reversing and now traveling outwards. In this way, the atom has two flows, one inward and one outward, just like the vortex. When the outward energy of the photon is bigger than the inward, the atom emits a photon. Photons continuously bombard the hydrogen atom, reverse their flows, and if strong enough emits from the atom as electromagnetic radiation, whereby the structure of the atom is changed. But if it is in balance, the atom is a standing wave in space. The orbit of the electron is a balance point between the external energy of photons and the internal reverse of the same. What we consider as matter is when the external wave and the opposite internal wave resonates in the orbit of the electron. It is illustrated in this diagram from Dr. Myler Wolf's website. His works treats the standing structure of matter in a different way than mine, but he is definitely onto something, and he is a mathematician, which I'm not. The periodical system shows different frequencies in different atoms. The frequencies determines which element is observed. At this time we are only able to observe the elements that resonate exactly in the orbit of the electron. I know this is contrary to what you have ever been taught in school. If it is correct, a lot of books will have to be rewritten. But don't worry, these matters takes time.